All right, guys, good to be with you. Obviously, big challenge ahead of us. Really good Wisconsin team that's played really as well as anybody in the country here this stretch of the season. A lot of the same consistent things that's made Wisconsin really the most, at least one of the most consistent programs in the country these last really decade and a half. Physical, tough, really a tough group. Maybe right now they perform maybe as tough as anybody in the country. Tough-minded guys, well-coached, disciplined, talented kid to sophomore. Davis has come into his own, had an outstanding year, as we expected he would after watching him last year. We knew he was a really good player that just was playing behind some older guys. So great challenge here at noon.
Chris, you talk about their toughness. That's something that some games you've had it maybe this season, maybe some games you haven't. Where do you think you guys are from a toughness standpoint?
Yeah, I think we're a work in progress. Got to continue to get better in that area, improve in that area across the board with some of our young guys, some of our older guys. Just have to be a little bit more consistent with it right now.
When you look at some of Wisconsin's numbers, they don't play particularly fast, and they're one of the most efficient defensive teams in the country. Seems like the half-court offense is going to be really important. Where do you think you are in guys learning how to maybe create some things when it comes to the half-court, guys aside from EJ?
Yeah, I think that's the strength for this Wisconsin team right now is their defense is exceptional. It's one of the very best defenses in the country. They're physical. They don't give you anything. They're great at not fouling. Again, consistent with the way their teams have been. Last year they might have had a little bit more offense to them, but their defense wasn't as stingy as it is right now. I think now their defense is elite. And Wall makes a big difference, but across the board, just their defense is really good. So I think that the half-court ability to attack them in the half-court is going to be an important part of the game.
Chris, I think from just watching, we get the understanding that Kyle Young is really healthy right now. Of course, he took a shot to the face right after Justin did, because that's just Kyle, and elbows find his face. But is that the way you and your staff see that? He's playing great right now and looks good and looks healthy.
Yeah, he's really been healthy since he came back from that issue that he had, and his legs have remained healthy. There's not really been an issue with that really for really a year. It's for him. He's so critical to us. It's all about him staying healthy, and he's obviously also playing with a lot of confidence right now. I think he knows that he can stretch the defense and really shoot the ball at a high clip, but he also has to be consistent with understanding he impacts the game with his energy and his ability to finish two-point field goals as well. But he's playing really well.
Is he a case of something that you can use as a coaching tool, because he's one of the best players on the team, and this has been done in hoops before, but you bring him off the bench, he clearly doesn't care, and you could show other guys you could be one of the most important players on the team, but yet this is just, I guess, why are you doing it that way? And is that something that you can show guys who might get minute hungry and how they can earn their way in?
Yeah, no, I think it's always a great example. And I think those of us that know Kyle, have coached Kyle, those that have watched Kyle know that that's who he is. It's genuinely who he is from his heart, that he's extremely unselfish. He's a great teammate. He cares about the right stuff. It's not to say that he wouldn't prefer maybe to start. Maybe he would. Maybe he wouldn't. CJ came off the bench towards the end of last year as well. But, it's a great lesson because that kind of gets lost on young guys. And, there's other guys, Travion Williams doing that at Purdue. So there's other guys. But for a guy to be playing like he's playing and to have that readiness off the bench is a great example for our guys, for sure.
Coach Davis, I know you said that you guys expected him to have a big jump up this year, but what is he maybe doing differently this year to allow him to have taken up that big step up and make strides this year?
It's just his role's bigger. If you'd ask us before the season, a handful of breakout guys going from their freshman to sophomore year, we'd have put Davis in that group. You know, as a coach, you watch guys and you see, okay, that kid's a really talented player. Now, yeah, I think he went from 4 or 5 points to he's averaging 20 now. That's a significant jump. But, you know, much like EJ did last year, you know, I think you see guys, and it's opportunity. And it's an understanding and a comfortability in a system after playing a year. You know, he's a kid who honestly waited his turn. Now he didn't, you know, he still played last year, but he kind of waited his turn, and but we looked at him and said, hey, he's going to have a breakout. And he was, you know, he was on the under 18 USA basketball team too. So it's a guy who clearly has had an impressive offseason.
And Crowell is not the first 7-footer you guys have seen this year, but what type of challenge is that going to present for Zed again on defense for you guys this game?
He's an inside-out big, can shoot threes, can score in the low post, has size, but you know, I thought their backup big, Crowell was good, but their backup big, the transfer from Cincinnati was really critical for him in the Indiana game. He really spearheaded their comeback from 22 points down. So I think both, you know, they have a lot of big physical guys, but those two guys are good.
How have you seen Malachi, like especially it was consistent performances against Duke, against Penn State. I mean, how is he is he getting more comfortable? Is he kind of finding his own here over this stretch, or is he where you want him to be?
No, I think he's like a freshman. You know, he's a work in progress. He's getting better every game. He'll go through ups and downs, but he's had some good moments and a little more consistency. He's you know, he's got to be a little more tack-minded. He's got to be more physical on his drives. He's got to be more physical in general. That's an adjustment for a kid. He's got a slight build. He's young. He's our youngest player, so he's still physically immature. He's a mature kid, but physically he's immature. So I think he's, you know, it's continual growth with him. That's why we've kind of decided to play some of those young guys early.
What do you feel like he should learn, especially with this upcoming matchup with the defense that Wisconsin provides? I mean, what do you want him to take from this one?
Well, I don't think there's any question. This is the best defense we've faced, and it's the best half-court, most physical half-court defensive team most physical team we've played as well. So I think it's just a different, you know, it's a different, little bit of a different style. It is a real, you know, true Big Ten game in every sense of the word. And I think not that Penn State wasn't, because it was, but this is just their old physical bodies. I think will be it'll be kind of a new thing in a lot of ways, just because Wisconsin provides, just with how they play in general, is a little bit of a different style.
You talked the other day about with guys, like making sure they don't get too in their feelings if things aren't going well and not getting too far into themselves. As a coach, what do you do with guys when they're maybe facing some adversity for the first time in their playing careers? Because like Malachi, Michi, those guys probably never experienced some of the things they're experiencing right now. Are there things that you do? Are there guys you have them lean on to try to get them through when things are tough?
Yeah, you hope the older guys can point to some examples that they had in their career. Maybe EJ talks about his experience as a freshman. I remember early in his freshman career, he didn't, you know, it was a Wisconsin game. He didn't play a whole lot because he just hadn't quite figured out how to play as hard and as physical as you needed to against a team of that caliber. So I think you hope that those older guys can share some examples of some of the experiences that they went through and how that paid dividends for them when they stuck with it. And then I'll have some one-on-one conversations. But, you know, I can't, you know, you can't soothe every moment. You know, some of it they just have to go through it and experience it and realize that it's part of the maturation process.
Are there things like that you can see when you're recruiting guys that you say you can, whether it's a mindset or a mentality, that you can recognize that they're going to hit adversity at some point, but I'm confident they're going to know how to deal with it?
Yeah, no, I think you're always looking at that. And I think you're always trying to evaluate how kids handle difficult things in adversity, and you ask them questions. Hey, what's the most difficult thing you've went through? How'd you handle it? That gives you a little bit of a learning experience on how to That gives you some insight into them as people when they have a chance to share about some difficult things, both in life and in their athletic career. So, yeah, you're always trying to evaluate that, and you're trying to see that. If kids are running from a challenge or hard things, it's a little bit of a cautionary tale for sure.
Chris, I'm not sure if you watched the Rutgers-Purdue game last night, but with another #1 team going down and, of course, your team defeating Duke earlier in the season, what's the key for teams at this point in the season with so much turnover at the top of the poll and just in general?
Well, I thought it was a heck of a game. I watched a little bit of the Seton Hall, Texas game as well. I don't often have a chance to watch, but I watched a little bit of both. It was a phenomenal finish, and I think we all understand how hard the RAC is to play there. It's just such a different environment. The fans are right on top of you. And it's college basketball. We understand how hard it is to win at home or on the road in league play, and give Rutgers a lot of credit. But Purdue's one of the very best teams in the country, so it's not like they're going to be outside the top 5 very long.
Have you ever spent 2 seconds thought thinking about in the month of December, you kind of get everything that college basketball has to offer. You get home and homes in conference, or true, home and away, campus games. You take a trip. You've got mid-majors. You've got high-energy buildings like against Duke, lower-energy buildings. Is it a more challenging kind of month because of all the difference that it has encompassing it?
It's unique, but it gives you, the Big Ten play is such a grind. Conference play is such a grind that I think the variety of teams, the variety of styles, the variety of games is enjoyable in a lot of ways, because then you roll into January where it's every night going against your brother in the backyard. It's that kind of a bone-on-bone matchup. I think this year for us, with the loss of Seth and Justice, I think that's in the schedule being as difficult as it is. It's been kind of in some ways even more to dive into the challenges that are presented by that, combined with the difficult schedule. I meant to update you on both those guys. Both those guys are making progress. They're in the midst of their own individual rehabs, and I don't have an immediate update on their timeline outside of they're making progress, and they won't be available for Wisconsin. So just want to follow up on that. But in some ways, the variety of the schedule, Timmy, is kind of it's enjoyable. But it is a lot. You see a lot of different. You see the Duke environment, and then you see an environment against Towson where it's 9 p.m. tip and not the same energy in the building. Regardless of that, we have to play to a standard home, road, big crowd, small crowd. That's our expectation.
When you look at that Wisconsin-Indiana game, it's almost like you got a tale of two halves. Almost two different teams were playing in the first half to the second half with Wisconsin. When you get tape on a game like that, how important is that for you? And kind of what did you glean from that game when you're looking at Wisconsin?
Well, I think as much as anything, people talk about the lost lead from Indiana, and I get that because that's the first thing and easiest thing to write about, but they also deserve credit for getting a 22-point lead on the road in league play against a good team. And they did a lot of really good things in the first half to put themselves in position to do that. So, I just thought that, listen, they had a great look at the end. They had a wide open three from a really good shooter to give them a chance basically to clinch or win the game. So not much more you can ask for. I'm sure they would wish they could have done a few things better, but you go on the road. Play at home in this league. You want to give yourself a chance in the last couple of minutes, and they did, but give Wisconsin a lot of credit. They got a really, really tough-minded and competitive group. I mean, Wall's a kid that's he's a really good player, and we saw that as a freshman. He's now a junior. He played behind some guys last year, similar to Davis, but he's a really good player. He impacts the game in a lot of ways, and he's a tough-minded kid.
I I haven't had a chance to ask you about this. It's been about a week, but with Mark Turgeon stepping down, does that shine a little bit of light on what it's like in the spotlight and what it's like to be a Big Ten coach and to be dealing with the ups and the downs? I mean, it's a guy that had just gotten a contract extension, and 8 games in, he decides to step away. Can you take us through a little bit just kind of what it must feel like to be under that kind of spotlight, that kind of grind?
Listen, I think that, Mark had I think 10 really good years there. And I thought he did a lot of really good things for our league in terms of playing really, really quality games. I had multiple NBA players. I know the year that the pandemic hit, like all of us, but they certainly had a team that could have done some things with Jalen Smith and Coward and those guys. I think as much as anything, he and I have texted a little bit. I'll kind of keep those conversations private, but I think as much as anything, you wish him well, you wish his family well. There's definite self-care that's involved in these jobs, and it's important. It's important for you as a coach, as a family man, as a husband and a father, to make sure that you're doing everything you can do to make sure you're performing your job at the highest level, but also being the kind of person you want to be too.
Chris, you talked about EJ's turnovers after the game, and I think you said he needs to be better. What are those conversations been like the last couple of days with him, and how do you kind of reiterate that to him that he's one of the leaders of this team now? He's a third-year player, and he needs to be better.
A lot of film work, a lot of specific examples of where his turnovers are happening. Some of them are passing, some of them are ball handling, some of them he's exposing the ball and he's getting it slapped. He's got to have stronger hands. Again, he's in those positions more this year than he was last year, so it's reasonable to expect that his turnovers would go up. But and he really, I think, ended up having 5 or 6, not 7. But point is, it's too many, and he understands that, and he wants to do better. And we're trying to help him with. It's a lot of film discussion, like just saying, "Hey, quit turning it over." That's not really great coaching. We've got to show him how he can turn it over less.
And you want him to remain aggressive. So I guess beyond that film, is there anything that he can do, practice-wise, or communication with other guys? Is it a communication thing? Is it something that they need to be relaying to him when he's in those positions?
Well, he's getting his ball. He has a lot of attention, so he's getting dug down on. Sometimes teams are running off other guys and going and trapping him. Sometimes they're coming blind. He's just got to have better recognition in general. I think his teammates can help him with that. Sometimes he's been put in difficult positions, but I don't mind. He had a charge off of a drive. Those are going to happen. I've got no issue with those. It's the plays where he's just loose with the ball that we've got to clean up.
Coach, we're about a month into the season, a little bit over. I know every coach would love to be undefeated, but when you look at where you guys are in the past month and win over a top 10 team, you're 1-0 in conference. Is this where you want your team to be? Have you kind of grown as you hoped you had?
I feel really positive about our strides in getting better. And I think that's the goal right now. In college basketball, it's so different than, college football or the NFL for that matter. It's not really a, one game, one win or loss really doesn't define you. There certainly can be games that you look at positively and say, hey, that's one we'll remember for a long time. But no one win or loss. It really is about, is your team evolving in a way that you feel really good about, and are we growing and getting better in the areas that we need to? Are we playing a little bit tougher, a little bit smarter in areas? Are our young guys getting better? And I think we've seen really good progress. Now, we're going to get as big a test as we've had all year tomorrow at noon in a lot of ways. But I think we've seen really, really good progress. So, that's what I feel good about, as opposed to it's certainly it's better to be 7-2 than 2-7. But you feel really good about the progress.
Conference schedule starting earlier nowadays. How much does that impact you having to grow so quickly to be ready there at the beginning of December? And then how important is it to start off on a right note in conference play.
Yeah, conference play coming this early. We've come to, I think it's been every year, but maybe one, I think, since I've been here. It's been after our first year. I think they went to 20 games maybe, or second year. So you just come to expect it's part of what your early December looks like. And obviously it's important to get off to a really good start. But, it creates some excitement around college basketball when maybe not a ton of people outside of avid college basketball followers. It creates some attention on our game, which is a good thing. It's not why the league did it. I understand why the league did it. The league did it to get more teams in the tournament, potentially. But, it creates an urgency for sure.
Last one from me. Just, you talked about the Townsend environment compared to the Duke environment. What are you expecting tomorrow? Big Ten home opener, top 25 matchup.
I've stopped trying to kind of guesstimate on what a crowd's going to look like in November and December, because it takes my attention and my focus away from other things. So, we have a big building. We all understand that. I hope we have a tremendous crowd. We certainly need them. We feed off them. We love having them in the building, but we're focused on doing our job as well as we can do it.